Have you been looking for how to cut your bootcut tutorial without the splash and spread method, or you've been looking for an easier pattern on how to make a beautiful bootcut? Then this video is for you. Hi loves, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Royalty Cut here, and in today's tutorial basically I'll be teaching you how to draft a basic boot cut without the splash and spread method. Now this is a video that you would like to see to the end because this tutorial is very easy for both beginners and advanced people in tailoring. Now technically for this tutorial I'll be making use of this paper you see over here to illustrate whatever thing I'll be doing, to make it more visible for you before transferring it to any fabric that I'll be working with. But this is actually a cutting tutorial, which after I will explain to you how to sew your boot cut. So let's get down to the drafting of our boot cut. Now the measurements I'll be needing for this boot cut is my round waist measurement. Now I'm working with round waist 32 inches. I'll also be making use of my round thigh measurement. The round thigh measurement I'm working with is 28 inches. I'll also be making use of my crotch depth. Now the crotch depth that I'm working with is 12 inches. I'll also be making use of my full length. That's the full length of my trouser. Now remember that I don't take the full length of my trouser from my waistline, but instead I take the full length measurement from my flap area or my crotch area down to the full length of my trouser. So the full length that I'm working with is 35 inches. Now after that, I'll also be working with my round knee measurement because we'll be needing our round knee measurement for this tutorial. Now the round knee measurement that I'm working with is 16 inches, and I'll also be working with the length of my knee. That's from the flap area or the crotch depth area down to the knee. I'll be working with 16 inches. Knee length 16 inches too. So that is all the measurements we need for this boot cut tutorial. Now the first thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is I will actually be explaining so that it would look like you are drafting on your fabric. So this paper is already folded into two. So if you're drafting on your main fabric, you just have to go ahead and fold it into two. Now we are drafting the front piece of this boot cut first. Now the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to mark our starting line, which will be serving as our waist measurement. So this is our waistline. Now, before we input any other measurement, we are going to go ahead to input 2 inches from our starting line here. I'm going to go ahead and input 2 inches all the way down to my drafting paper. So I'll go ahead and input 2 inches inward. To go ahead and divide my round thigh measurement into two. Now remember that I'm working with round thigh 28 inches. So 28 inches divided by 2 will actually give us 14 inches. So from this 2-inch line that we have here, I'm going to measure 14 inches inward all the way down to our paper. Now this 14 inches that I'm measuring will be serving as our trouser block. If you've been following our tutorial, you should actually know what our trouser block is. So I have 14 inches in total all the way here, so there's no need of marking it down. So I'll just take the end of my paper as my 14 inches because that's what I have exactly here. So from this point of our 2-inch all the way down here is called trouser block. Now any measurement will be taken now will be inside this trouser block. Now after getting our trouser block, yours might be more than 28 inches. Just make sure you measure it and divide it into two to get your trouser block. Now if you have extra space on your fabric, you can just go ahead and mark your trouser, your round thigh measurement divided by 2. You mark it all the way down, not to get confused with the extra fabric you're working with. Now after that, we are going to go ahead and input our crotch depth line. Now remember that I'm working with crotch depth 12 inches. So from our waistline, I'm going to go ahead and measure 12 inches down, all the way down to the trouser block. So this is our crotch depth. Now after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to, from this 2-inch that I have here, I'm just going to go ahead and input 1 inch. Now this 2-inch that I have earlier is for our sewing allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold it in so that it wouldn't confuse us. So I went ahead to fold in the 2-inch allowance so that we wouldn't get confused. Now remember that what we have here is our trouser block. Apart from the 2-inch that we have, this is our trouser block. So from this starting line that I have here, which is the line of the 2 inches, I'm just going to go ahead and impute 1 inch from the waistline down to the crotch depth. Now this 1 inch that I marked here is constant for everyone. This 1 inch is constant and is for waist shaping and giving us the hip curve that we want. So this 1 inch is constant for all sizes. Now after imputing the 1 inch all the way down to the crotch depth, I'm just going to go ahead and divide my round waist measurement into 4. So I'm working with round waist 32 inches. 32 inches divided by 4 is 8 inches. Now, whatever I get from dividing my round waist measurement into 4, I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches to it. So if your round waist is 20 inches and you divide it into 4, which is 5 inches, just go ahead and add 2 inches to it. So adding 2 inches to my 8 inches, it will be giving me 10 inches in total. So I'll go ahead and mark this 10 inch from the waistline down to the crotch depth, starting from this 1 inch line that we have here, not from this starting point. After marking the round waist measurement that I have from our waistline to our crotch depth, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to slant from this 1 inch line that we have here into this line that we have here in a slanted way. Now I'm going to use my curve ruler to place the tip here and at the end here. Now I'm going to place it in a slanted way, just like you see me do here. So this is technically what you're going to be doing for this 1 inch. You slant it from the line inwards to the 1 inch that we have. So after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to measure what we have from this round waist measurement that we got to the end of our trouser block. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure it, and I have about 2.75 inches here. I have 2.75 inch. Now, if whoever you're working with, the remaining inches here is not up to 1.5 inches or 2.5 inches, just go ahead to add extra 1 inch to their trouser block. I don't know if you understand. If you should measure here and it's not up to 2 inches or 1.5 inches, just go ahead to add extra 1 inches to their trouser block. It's not just going to change anything, but rather it will give space for the flap area to be able to lap very well. So for me, I have 2.75 inches here. So I'll go ahead and divide it into 2. 2.75 inches is 1.25. Now whatever you get from this point to this point, you divide it into 2. So I have 1.25. So I'm going to, from this midpoint here of our waistline and the crotch depth, I'm going to go up by that 1.25 and I will mark it down. So after marking it down from the midpoint, now for you to get the midpoint, you can also choose to use your ruler to trace the center upward, just like I did here. to be able to determine the midpoint that you're working with. So for our flap area, I'm just going to go ahead and use my curve ruler. I'm going to connect this 1.25 we have here all the way down to this our line, and this 1.25 all the way down to the end of our trouser block, just like you see me do here. Now, the way you place your curve ruler matters a lot, because if your flap is not looking good, it's going to end up spoiling the end process. So just make sure that you get a curvy part. Now I've placed it from here to here. I'm now going to go ahead and place it all the way down to this curve ruler. So technically our flap is ready. As you can see, this is what it is looking like. Now after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now is to impute our knee length and also our full length. Remember, I told you to take your full length from your flap area and also your knee length from your flap area or your crotch depth. So for me, from the knee length down, my knee length is 16 inches. So I'll mark 16 inches all the way down to our flap area, to our trouser block. Then I'll also go ahead and mark the full length I'm working with, which is 36 inches, all the way down to our trouser block. So after marking the knee line and the full length, I'm just going to go ahead and measure it. This is our knee line and this is our full length. So after this, the next thing we are going to go ahead and do right now is to divide our round knee measurement into two. Now the round knee measurement that I'm working with is 16 inches. So I'll go ahead and divide 16 inches into two, which will be giving me 8 inches in total. Now, after dividing your round knee measurement into two, we are just first of all going to go ahead and divide our trouser block into two. Now, at the full length of our trouser, remember the trouser block that I'm working with is 14 inches. 14 inches divided by 2 is 7 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 7 inches so that we can divide it into two. So 7 inches is here. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend the line from the full length all the way down to the knee length. So we'll go ahead and mark 7 inches too on the knee length. So whatever your trouser block is, just go ahead and divide it into two. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend this line all the way down to our full length measurement. Now, after marking it, I've divided my trouser block into two. The next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to impute our round knee measurement that we got earlier. So remember, we got 8 inches earlier. So from this point, I'm going to go ahead and divide the 8 inches into two to make sure that the sides are equal. Now, I'll go ahead and mark from this center point that I have here. I'll mark 4 inches. Then from this point to the trouser block area, I'll go ahead and mark 4 inches, and it will be giving me 8 inches in total. I don't know if you understand. So I've gone ahead to mark it. If I should go ahead to remeasure from this point to this point, you will see it is giving me my round knee measurement divided by 2, which is 8 inches. So after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to go ahead and connect these lines. Now, from this 1 inch that I have here that is serving as our hip line, I'm going to go ahead and connect it in a curvy part to this round knee measurement we have here. And I'll also go ahead from our crotch depth, I'll go ahead and connect it down to this round knee measurement that we have. So I'm just going to go ahead and place my ruler this way. I don't know if you can see. I'll go ahead and place my ruler this way to make sure that that point is actually meeting each other. Now you just have to be careful while doing this to avoid making a very big mistake. Now you can also choose to use your free hand to achieve what you want, but for me I'll be doing it with my curve ruler, just like you see me doing over here. So I've connected this line back to this line. As you can see, the curvy part is already out there. I don't know if you can see. You can see where our hip will be sitting in after sewing it. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do now too is to connect this place to this place, just like I told you earlier. So as you can see, after connecting this point down to this part, this is what is having. Just make sure that this crotch depth line is a little bit curvy inwards, and make sure that it's going to be connecting here. Now we are done with this upper body. Now for our boot cut, this is what we are going to do. I'm just going to go ahead from this rounding measurement that I have here. I'm going to go ahead and extend the line in a vertical way all the way down to the tip of our full length, and I'm going to extend this one too all the way down to this place, just like I'm doing here. Now you will need a long ruler for this to actually get a perfect shape, but if you think you can do it with your free hand, you're still good to go. So this is it for this part. Now I'm going to go ahead to and connect this one all the way down to our trouser block length in a vertical way too. So basically this is just it. Our boot cut trouser is good to go. With this pattern, you are free to cut your boot cut Johnson to your boot cut pant. So this is basically it for this boot cut part. As you can see, the down part is already giving us the boot cut shape that we need. So I'm just going to go ahead and reopen this. Now for the size of this pant, you can choose to go ahead and add any allowance for the sewing. Now you're going to be adding your sewing allowance from this point, these new curvy lines that we have here. So if you're sewing with 2-inch, just go ahead and input 2-inch from these new curvy lines, or 1 inch, depending on what you want to sew with. Then for the back piece, you just go ahead and do the necessary things too that you do for your normal pant trouser, adding your inches for the back piece. So for this boot cut is still the same thing. You just go ahead and add 1 inch for your back piece. You place your front piece on top of your fabric. You add 1 inch from the waistline to the crotch depth. You connect it normally. Then for the crotch depth too, you know how you do it. You extend by 2 inch if your trouser block is up to 26 and above, but if it is below, you extend it 1.5 inch. Then whatever thing you have here at the crotch depth of your back, you just subtract half of an inch from it. So if I'm working with 2 inch at the back of my pant, I'll be measuring 1.5 inch from this side all the way down to the end of our fabric. And you know the normal pattern too, for your back, you just extend by 1 inch from this point and you slant it back to your trouser pant, and this is it. So just tell me in the comment section what you think, whether this tutorial was actually helpful and whether you find it easy for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off so that we'll see what it looks like. This is our palazzo pant. As you can see how it's looking all beautiful and easy to make. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever I post interesting content like this. See you in our next video. Bye.